Welcome to this podcast on mediumship and channeling. This is your host, Prashant, and today I'm going to be taking you through 5 days that Nicole and I spent channeling entities and connecting with spirits, beings, and ascended masters. Not only does this document our journey over the last 5 days, but also allows us to be able to bring this to you in a way that you will be able to connect with in your own unique way. My guest today, Nicole, is a certified master CTC therapist, a master NLP therapist, a master EFT therapist, and a master hypnotherapist. Among the many qualifications that she has, the one that shines the brightest for me is her innate ability to be able to project herself out of her body, to be able to connect with ascended masters and beings, and to be able to bring this love and light back onto earth so that people like myself can benefit and grow and enjoy the gifts of the universe. So without making you wait much longer now, let's dive straight into this conversation, and hopefully it sparks something in you that will make you want to traverse and explore the uncharted realms of the universe. Welcome to yet another podcast with me, Prashant. And today is a special podcast because I have with me here Nicole. And Nicole and I have just had 5 extraordinary days of lots of experiences that we would like to share with you. It's been an incredible few days, but so Wednesday when you came in, I think it was maybe towards the evening that we decided, hey, let's just sit down and see if we can channel. And obviously with our CTC training and with Joanne, you particularly had a few experiences with Archangel Michael and Lord Maitreya as well. For me particularly, feeling those frequencies for the first time, so Archangel Michael's and Lord Maitreya's around my energy field was an extraordinary experience for me. But it hadn't happened since. And it opened something in me. But when I came back home, all I would do is try and channel, and I would get a little bit of that frequency to come through, but nothing substantial. Yeah, so it was on Wednesday that we decided, okay, let's try and channel something. Do you remember who we channeled on Wednesday?
It is all a complete blur because the last 5 days have been extraordinary. But I do believe we channeled Michael.
Yeah.
And we channeled Maitreya, didn't we?
We went into it thinking or saying that, okay, let's just increase the vibration.
Yeah. See what comes. And was that the day when the entire room was sort of filled? Like, was that the day that we actually saw, say, the orange person standing on the side of the room? I think it was the next day.
You reckon?
Yeah, that was the next day. That was the Thursday.
Okay, then I'll let you talk about what really happened, because honestly, I don't really remember what happened Wednesday night.
So on Wednesday night, we thought, okay, well, we'll just try to channel 1 or 2 people that we know whose energy we're both familiar with.
Yeah.
So we sat down, we closed our eyes, and then it was almost immediately that we felt the presence of Michael.
Yeah.
He has a really intense vibration.
He does, yeah.
And it was actually a really amazing experience because I put my hand out and he took my hand, and I was asking for guidance, and he put my hand on his cheek.
Wow.
And I don't know if you remember then I was up shaking.
Oh, that's
sitting on the floor,
I
trying to do meditation and trying to release some of the energy.
Yeah, that's right. I believe Babaji came in that day as well, because obviously there was a lesson in there for you.
Yeah.
So Lord Maitreya, Archangel Michael, and obviously Archangel Michael, you having a very special connection with him, were able to touch him and were able to converse with him and had an exchange of messages. But And here's the extraordinary thing. This is before whatever happened yesterday happened, and I'll get to that soon, which kind of changed everything. But so what had happened was Nicole felt that extraordinary touch, and as you know, when they're coming close to your energy field,
your frequency changes.
Your frequency changes. Yeah, you start to oscillate or vibrate at that frequency.
Yeah.
And it's a new experience for your body, so your body gets, it's almost like a foreign body sort of coming in.
Yeah, and you just feel really filled with energy.
Yeah.
And the best way I can explain is like if you've had too many coffees and you kind of got the shakes. But with Michael's energy, for me in particular, that's how it feels, because the intensity and the pace of the vibration is so fast and so strong.
It's dense, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds really cool. Yeah,
it's almost like like if you're walking close, you're walking on a street and you're walking towards a nightclub, and as you start approaching it, you start hearing the subwoofer, and then you can sort of feel that heaviness of the frequency then as it's interacting with your body, because low frequencies sort of travel a longer distance. But in this case, it's a very high frequency, and yet it's very dense, and you sort of feel that density as well. And obviously what happened there with Nicole was that she felt Archangel Michael's frequency, and then she was sitting on the side of the bed because she couldn't sleep, because there was so much energy pulsating through her body, not because he had come, but because she had touched him as well. And that's an extraordinary thing. So you were sitting there, and another person that we had channeled was Babaji. And this is, if you don't know who Babaji is, that's Babaji Krishna, or Maha Avatar Babaji, who is referred to in the autobiography of a yogi. I've always had a solid connection with Maha Avatar Babaji, and what had happened was that when he came in, I don't think Nicole had fully experienced his frequency before. And it was to show Nicole what his frequency felt like as well. And when you felt that, what was your experience like?
Yeah, I had a really beautiful experience where I felt like, so I was sitting on the floor just trying to work out what to do with my energy, where I felt like he came to me and gave me a gift, and what I saw in my third eye or out in the void was a pink lotus. And I've never had that experience before. So to receive my messages and to connect, I project my consciousness just outside of my body, just in front of my forehead, and usually it's a black void, and then I go there and then I communicate and receive and feel things. And I've never had the experience before, so I felt him come towards me, and until he was in front of me. And then in the void, I saw a dark pink lotus, and the image was tiny, tiny, tiny. And then as it moved towards me, so as it seemed to come closer and closer to me, or even, right up touching my third eye internally, the lotus grew bigger and bigger in size. And then that just kept repeating itself. So that happened where the lotus went from small to big and disappeared, small to big, disappeared, several times. I've never had any other experience like that or seen anything like that. But it was really amazing.
Nicole was obviously sitting on the floor, unable to comprehend what to do with the vibration that she was feeling in the body. And and of course I was sleeping. And I remember just
yelling at me.
Yeah, I remember getting up from my sleep, and I was like, why have you called Michael? We were supposed to have been sleeping. Yeah, so that happened, and also you were on the floor and you started to channel Michael. And you were like, maybe I'll ask him if he knows what's happening. And you were doing that, and as soon as you did that, I was like, why are you calling Michael? But then I fell asleep, and you then called Babaji Krishna. And as you called Babaji Krishna, and I'll let you talk about what happened there, with the hand thing. Yeah, so get into that.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. It was a different one.
Yeah.
So what happened is so many amazing things. I was sitting there, and then I put my hand out to meet Babaji. So I put both my hands out and I was feeling the outline of him, which I quite often do. And then I asked him to take my hands to show me what to do. Anyway, so he took my hands, held them up about shoulder height in front of me, and then brought them down together. So my wrists met, my little finger and thumb sort of touching, and my hands outstretched, sort of making like a cup or a bowl shape. And then he pushed it to my heart. So essentially my wrists were at my heart and my hands extending out in that shape. And yeah, so that was amazing because I've never seen that formation before or read about it or anything like that. But the fact that he guided my hands to that position was really amazing. So then I was using my hands in that position to try to dissipate some of the energy from my body. And then I think you said to me, send Reiki. If you want to get rid of it, I know what to do. You need to send Reiki.
Yes. Yeah. So obviously you were sitting there and, you had learned this and the lotus thing. And I remember you were telling me about it. And as soon as you did, the first thing, as I looked at that image of you making that lotus, the first thing that came to me was obviously growing up in India, I've seen the classical Indian dance form called Bharatanatyam. And Bharatanatyam, in that you usually make a flower like that with your hands, and it's usually because it is a spiritual dance.
Yeah.
So it is in that I know the significance of that is the of that flower is a lotus, and as soon as you made that sort of formation, I was like, it kind of reminds me of this. So I started to look at what lotus mudra looked like. And as soon as I saw that, I Googled it and I saw the exact same image of what you were showing and coming out from the chest the way that you showed it. And I was like, hey, but this is Buddha. This is a Buddhist thing. But, obviously that could be my ignorance. But I was like, no, this can't be Babaji. This has to be Buddha because I believe probably it was that night that we saw that orange thing on the side of the room.
We're getting all our days mixed up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure because that's how we knew it was Buddha, because we were having that discussion about, hey, who is this person on the side of the room there?
So that was night 2. So that was
Thursday. That was the first night. He also came again. So But so what happened the first night as well was that we called in. A lot of other people came in as well. There were a few around the room. There were a few around us. Yeah. I remember my grandfather came.
Yes,
that was the first night.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I do remember that.
And then there were 2 or 3 people. Oh, maybe that was the second night. The 2 or 3 people. I'm not really sure. Whatever's happening is happening here, right? But maybe we should have documented this when it happened every single day. But anyway. Leaving it for the last minute, this is what happens. So anyway, you felt that lotus mudra come out, and I was still sleeping, and in my sleep somehow I remembered or I had this realization that you need to send this. This is what you do. Yeah. You need to send this to someone else, and how do we know to connect to someone else and send that energy through Reiki? So I said just connect to someone via Reiki and then try sending it. Yeah. And so how was your experience sending that?
Yeah, it was really good. So I did that. I just sat on the floor there and used the hand position that I was shown, and then opened my channels for Reiki, and then I just tried to expend some of that energy that I had within me out via my heart chakra. And I felt like using that hand position somehow amplified that, or was able to intensify or condense that energy and send it off. Yeah. So then I did send it to a friend who's battling an illness, and I sent her that energy for about an hour. And then I sent her a text message in the morning just saying, hey, I sent you some Reiki. And she said I was feeling so hot in the morning, had to take all my stuff off. It was amazing. Wow. And then she sent me another message about an hour later saying that when she woke up and she opened the door, there was a white feather for her at the doors, which is like usually a symbol that someone's been there visiting. So, so it was a beautiful experience for me, and actually a good way for me to kind of learn what to do when I've got that kind of healing energy that I've received as a gift, you know, from Archangel Michael or from whoever it might be, to actually send it to people who need it.
Yeah, that was a really profound experience there. And I think that sort of, for us, the two of us, opened the doors of, okay, what the next few days are going to look like.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up the next day and something had opened. Something had obviously opened, and, you know, people were coming through all through the day. You know, it almost felt like we weren't alone.
No, the whole time.
Yeah, and we would say something or we would talk about someone, and then suddenly that vibration would start to pick up. But here's what happened to me particularly. So all along, what I had been doing, and this is, you know, very different to what Nicole was doing, but I didn't know that yet, was that I was trying to project my consciousness or my awareness out through my crown chakra, right? And what I would do is on the top of me, far out into the top of me, I would imagine, or I would be drawn to this place, this one particular place, and it's always been the same. It's never changed. And it's a sky with stars and clouds, and you know, it's out somewhere out in the universe, so it's obviously quite dark there. And you know, and I'm sure Nicole has her version of it, but I call it the void, and so does Nicole. But her version is obviously different to mine. But what I would do is I would project my consciousness through my crown chakra, and this is something that I had learned from Nicole because she had the superpower. And you know, obviously in CTC when we were doing our training, I tried to acquire the superpower off of her, the best that I could, the very limited understanding that I had back then. And that's how I would do it. And it suddenly dawned to me, I think we were having a conversation, and you told me, hey, I don't actually do that. I actually send it out from my third eye. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, you know, I just project my consciousness just out in front of my third eye, and that's where my void is. And I was like, what? How's that even possible? So I tried to do that the very next day. So the very next day, and I think this is day 2 now, we're sitting again in the evening and we're trying to channel, and this time we tried to channel, and I remember this, we tried to channel Saint Germain, and we said we will try and channel Saint Germain because his energy is really good for healing. Right? The violet flame. And I remember very distinctly he came, and I remember how distinctly his vibration was just, the density of the vibration was quite like Archangel Michael's, but yet it was a bit different.
The feeling was different.
The feeling was different, but the overall
oscillation,
the density, the thickness was quite like that. Whereas, say, if you compare that to Lord Maitreya's energy, Lord Maitreya's energy's not got that density, but it's got this really very high vibration. It's so high that when your body experiences it for the first time, it almost feels like
you got
panic.
the shakes.
You know, and he came, and I believe you had an interaction with him as well, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
We probably even tried to channel Buddha that day, because we were like, we were trying to be sure whether it was Buddha that came the other day, and or it was Babaji, obviously that discussion that we spoke about before.
So what happened with that is that we called a number of people, and a number of people came. You know, we would channel, we opened ourselves up, and then people were coming. So what we found was spirits were coming, ascended masters were coming, and then it got hard for us to discern who was who, where they were. So it took us a bit of time to kind of work out that. And eventually a couple of minutes later, we kind of worked out who was what, where they were. So we could discern that, we could feel that. And then far off to the right, I saw an orange aura. like a bright, intense orange aura. And normally when I see spirits and when I feel them, I get an idea of their outline. I can see the shape. I can feel how dense they are. I can feel like if they're heavy or light, and I can feel their oscillation, but I don't necessarily, I haven't as yet had the experience of seeing their full facial features and being able to identify them by sight. So some I can, some I can't. Most I can't. Most I just feel the shape, feel the outline, and then my void tells me, okay, this is this person. But I just saw off in the distance, I saw on the other side of the room this bright, intense orange halo, or like almost aura around a spirit, which I don't normally see. I've only seen that once or twice before, in terms of having an outline of a spirit that is like the color of them or their aura, which was amazing. So we were trying to work it out, and then when we had a look through and we were referencing, it was the exact color of Buddha.
Yeah. I think it was the second day we tried to I think we tried to channel Lord Maitreya, Archangel Michael, but we added Buddha and Saint Germain on the list.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And yeah, I think when we were doing that, suddenly the room became really, really full.
It did, yeah.
If I was to, and this is one thing that I do, which is that I try and imagine that I am standing somewhere in the room, and then I try and look to see what's happening. Even looking at myself in third person is kind of like what I do. And as I did that, I remember you were sitting on the left-hand side of the bed. I was sitting on I was sitting on the left hand side, you were sitting on the right, and I was sitting on the right, you were on the left, sorry. I can't remember. I can't remember who was sitting where, but I remember as I projected my consciousness and I looked around, I turned around and I saw that on the left hand side of the bed there was one person close to the edge of the bed, and I think you were definitely on the left hand side of the bed there, and next to you were your guides. Then in front of you was maybe one person, and then I had also called in the three of the people that I usually called. Yep. And I think it was Babaji, yep, Larry Mahashaya, Yoganandaji, and Swami Yukteswar. I think I'd called all four of them, and I think you were already reading your book. The Holy Science. No, you hadn't studied that yet. And I was trying to tell you that this is the person who actually wrote that book. Yeah. Anyway, and then so they were in front of me around there were four. Between the two of us where we were sitting, we started off with one. But I think there was two or three, yeah. Yeah, perhaps three. There was one person holding your shoulder. There was one person who had gripped my arm really hard. I know my grandfather was there because you made me feel my grandfather's energy. And then to the side of the room, towards where I was standing, there was someone in the red. And anyway, so when we had finished channeling, and you would had your communication, because by then I wasn't a communicator then. I hadn't learned how to communicate. I would just feel them, and anyway, so we felt them individually, and then we thanked them for their presence. And when they left, and this is the strange thing, right? When they left, it wasn't like the room became empty. The room, it was like as people were standing at the door, and as some people left, the others came in. Yeah. And I remember distinctly this Egyptian goddess that came in and stood by the side of the bed. And I'd never seen this Egyptian goddess before. And I asked you, hey, do you know someone who holds a staff and they kind of wear like a hood almost, and dressed in white? And you said that it was.
I thought it was Osiris because I've had a connection with her before.
Yeah. But even while she came, there was still the fact that your shoulder was now still being held, grabbed, and my arm, my left bicep was still being held very tightly. Yeah. And it was like, okay, we're not leaving until Yeah. And this is something that I've done in the past. So what I'd do is I'd get up and change my orientation, so I'd probably move to another room. And in this case, I went out for a cigarette. And as I went for this cigarette, I realized that this left bicep was still being held. Yeah. What was do you remember?
Yeah, I do, because the whole theme of a few days is about getting ready, preparing for something, and then so it was like, you're here for your purpose, or you're here to fulfill your purpose, so you need to step up into it. Some of the messages that we were getting, but
yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next day. So it was, I think, the next morning,
Friday. A couple of really interesting experiences. And on Friday morning, so the next day when we woke up, we're in the lounge room chatting. I think I was having NGE.
Yeah,
I was having not good enough moments where I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, and blah blah blah. Like, I guess, you have your ups and downs. I was feeling like, oh my God, I don't know if I can actually do this, and feel this, and what am I meant to be doing? And yeah, we were doing our Facebook stuff. Actually, you were trying to get me to watch a video.
No, I was getting you to listen to one of the meditations that I was making.
You were getting me to do that, but then we were listening to the meditations, and then you were getting me to watch the videos.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, the videos, the
Facebook,
SEO. Teach myself about, search engine optimization. Exciting. So I'm watching the videos next to you, and then I just felt a presence and just tuned out. I went into the void, and it was Lord Maitreya. So in our CTC, Lord Maitreya was present multiple times. Played a really big role in us receiving some blessings and, growing our contributing to our spiritual growth and awareness. So he came and he said to me, like, don't forget, I was there. You have a purpose to fulfill, and I need you to, you are going to stand up, and you will be ready for it, and you need to do what you need to do. The world needs you. Things are happening in the world right now, and you need to be ready, and you need to get ready for it. And while it was nurturing, it was also very commanding in conversation. So I was feeling like, I don't know what the purpose of why I'm being chosen, like why are we getting all the visits, what is the reason for it, what's behind it. And so then to have this visit from Lord Maitreya and to have this conversation was really impactful, and I had like little tears coming down, which you teased me about, because it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience, and I think just to have that confirmation, and then, but what I did notice was the level of intensity or command there about, the world needs you, there's things happening, you need to be ready, and you need to sort your stuff out, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah,
and I remember that experience happened, and of course, I looked at you and you were crying again, as you usually do after an experience like that, which I understand completely. But you were crying, and as you were talking about that, I remembered the rest of the sequence as well. So the night before, we tried to channel Sanat Kumara as well, and we felt the energy of Sanat Kumara for the very first time, and it was something like we'd never felt before. It was a super healing energy, so healing. It was kind of like butterflies floating almost, so strong and yet so healing. And it was hard to even stay awake, because as soon as you'd feel it, you just like you just go into like,
sleepy land.
Sleepy land, yeah. It was like very, very dreamy energy, right? So I remember after you had your shower and everything. We sat on the couch, and the idea was to call an intergalactic being, and we're like, who should we call? And we were sort of looking through like the website that we normally get our list of people inspiration from, channeling inspiration, and we were looking, and I was like, Ashtar, but then hey, look, Commander Hatton.
Yeah.
Hatton. We've still not figured out how to pronounce his name. Oh my God, he is the big wig. The big wig, the big guns. Why don't we just call him? And this is like this is a big experience for me particularly, and also for Nicole, and I think our experiences differed in how we perceive them. But what happened there was we sat down to start to channel the bigwig, Commander Hatton, and as we started, you got a phone call, and I remember you walking out into the backyard, and you were talking on the phone, and as you were talking, I thought, okay, let me see if I can do this myself. And this is a big game changer for me, because this is the very first time I tried to project out of my third eye. And it almost came to me as a knowing that this is what I needed to do. But I needed to obviously learn and experience that from Nicole. And so what I did was I tried to connect with him again from my crown. And I saw something. But then what I did was I saw that maybe I'd formed a connection, and I asked him to come down. But as I did so, and I started to feel his frequency coming down from my crown, what I did was I projected it again from my third eye, and I asked him to come in, and I started to suddenly feel that energy, not just around, inside of me, but actually around me as well. And this is the difference that I found with channeling with the crown and the third eye, which is another revelation which I'll talk about soon. But he came into the room, and this was like a big moment for me, because this is the first time I've ever sort of done it myself.
So I came back into the room after being on my conversation, and I could we had a talk about how he came in.
Yeah.
And then so I sat down and I tried to call him. And then I felt that he came just in front of me, and then picked up from the conversation that I had with Lord Maitreya, essentially. And, you know, I just reiterated the story that things are happening in the world and there's a sense of urgency, and then we need to get ready, and that is what we're here to do. And then I felt that he drew a spiral symbol on my third eye. Wow. And gave me a blessing, which was really just amazing, because I think when you suggested channeling him, I was like, oh, I don't know. But then when he was here and I felt the presence, it was actually really powerful and really amazing. And when he drew the spiral on my third eye, I felt like I received a blessing. I cried again. So I saw the outline of his head, and then hair and aura around, and then in the background I saw flashes of lights and colours which weren't of this planet, and they didn't really feel like the normal solar system that we kind of reside in, which probably is an odd thing to say, but sometimes when I've been to the void and I've seen others, like I feel like if they're in this realm or not, and he didn't feel like he was of this realm. So the flashes of light, the images that I was getting in the background of him was something that I've never seen or experienced before. And generally when I'm seeing someone, sometimes I will see a background, but more often than not, it's just darkness for me, and then I see the outline of the person, of the individual. So that was really crazy, because that just really opened me up to, you know, being able to experience something different with him.
And what did his frequency feel like to you? And how would you say it's different to the frequencies that we'd felt so far?
It wasn't a intense frequency like I felt with the others, like in terms of the density or anything like that, because it felt very light. It felt very weightless, but it felt very strong and very knowledgeable and very, like, you know, like when you're in the company of someone who's really wise and you just they come into the room and you just know, like, you just know that they're there's something special about them. So that's the kind of feeling that I got. So where it wasn't a really a massive flood of energy in my body. I was able to contain it. Like I did vibrate at a different frequency, so that did happen, and my oscillation definitely changed, but it wasn't like, it wasn't kind of like I was being electrocuted, which sometimes I feel from the others, but it was a much lighter experience, but a very powerful one. So I don't know, that's probably the best way I can explain it. Yeah.
And it was a really, really extraordinary experience to feel his frequency, because it changed the game for us a little bit.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And this is like, okay, there are different kinds of frequencies here as well. I remember particularly what had happened since then was suddenly this feeling started dawning on me that we need to call the four Kumaras. And obviously this is because I had felt a very, very strong connection with Sanat Kumara the last night before, and I had no idea who he was before we channeled him. We just read maybe 5 lines on him. But when he came in, I felt a really strong connection to his energy, and I've only ever felt that strong connection to Babaji before. So when he came in and we felt his energy, obviously after Commander Hatton, I was trying to think, okay, who are we gonna channel tonight? And then I started to do a bit of research with you, and we realized there were the 4 Kumaras, the 4 sons of Brahmas, of the Lord Brahma, and so it was Sanat Kumara, there was Sananda, there was Sanatana, and there was Sanaka. And we tried to, so the idea was to channel all 4 of them, and as we channeled all 4 of them, we could then channel their father Brahma. And I remember that night, I can't really remember what happened in the day, really, I don't know. But that night, we sat down to channel, and again, this time I used the technique that I done with Lord Hatton this morning. And I asked you to do Sanaka and Sananda, and I did Sanatana and Sanat. And we started to channel. I can't remember who all came into the room there, because it was a bit confusing, because they were all such strong energies. Say, particularly if I thought that Sanatana came, and we started to feel his energy, if I called in Sanat at the same time, his energy was just so overwhelming that you couldn't feel anything else.
You couldn't, it was hard to discern who was who and what was what, but also because they're so tightly interwoven to each other as well, so it was hard for us.
And then I remember this particular vision, and I know you shared it as well, and I asked you when we were sitting on the bed, and I said, oh, they're standing in front of the desk, all 4 of them are standing in line. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And there was this knowing that they were all standing there, but they weren't coming forward.
No. Yeah.
No, at that point they weren't really interacting with us, but they were there, and it was like they were waiting. They were waiting for something, and suddenly it dawned on us to call Brahma, and I said, okay, I'm channeling Lord Brahma now, and I started to invite him in, and then suddenly that frequency was, wow, that was magical. That was so dense. Yeah. So dense that I have never felt anything like that before. It kind of felt like there's like a Formula 1 car just like across the room. Like the vibration was so strong. Like it was like the earth was shaking. Yeah. It was incredible.
And just the heaviness, like you actually could feel the weight, it was a physical weight on your body. Like someone was sitting on, as we were sitting there cross-legged, like someone was actually sitting on our lap or sitting like a physical being. Yeah. That's what it felt like, yeah.
Yeah, even as I say it, as we recall that, I feel that weight on me now. Wow, that was incredible. I felt when we were trying to go to sleep, I don't know why, but I felt that by then you had already channeled Lady Portia. I think she had come into your...
Yeah, Lady Portia has come to me a couple of times. Like I tried to connect. So that day we tried to connect with Gabriel and Portia. Like I go into my void and I could see the violet light. So, which is how I first channeled Michael, or how the first indication I got, because when I went to the void and I was calling someone in, I didn't know who it was. I was just like, who I knew someone was there watching. I said, whoever you are, come, like, just be with me. And then my whole void went his color of that deep blue. And it's like nothing I've ever seen before. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And then all of a sudden he was there in my face. And it was very similar when I was connecting with Lady Portia. So I channeled the violet light, and I was trying to connect with her. My whole void went violet. And then I could see the outline of her in her cape, kind of coming into the void, which was,
wow.
Yeah. And her energy is really beautiful and loving and healing and very caring. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You had already obviously had the Reiki 3 vision
Yeah.
many times before.
Yeah.
And you obviously had it whilst we were doing CTC.
Yeah.
And you even asked Archangel Michael to tell Joanne.
I did. So Joanne was our, I guess, one of our spiritual mentors, and the person that we did our CTC training with. And we were at her house when I first had that experience with Angel Michael when he came to me. But in that experience, I got a message, Reiki 3, Reiki 3, Reiki 3. And I shared it with her, and she was like, get out of my head. You've only just had Reiki 2.
Yeah.
But I felt very strongly that I needed to get Reiki 3. And Master Sui also came to us that same night, or came into the room. So anyway, ever since then, I've had this feeling that I need to do Reiki 3. I need to have that attunement.
Yeah. And it kind of, all of it has made sense in the end. And that's, so yesterday was like the biggest revelation. But so, we decided, okay, let's, because I saw that I woke up that morning with a Reiki 3 thing as well. And
you woke up and you were like, I've got a message. I know what we have to do. We have to get our Reiki 3. I felt it.
I felt the urgency
strongly.
of it as well. And I remember Joanne telling us that there are these 5 blue people who have given her 5 secret symbols of Reiki, and they're like these 3-dimensional ones. And I thought maybe we were going to receive those as well, right? So I was walking the dogs, and and the idea was that you were going to eat your breakfast. I was going to walk the dogs, and when I came back, we would sit down and we would channel Dr. Usui. And I was out on the dog walk, and I tried to throw my consciousness out and try to connect with the blue people, the 5 blue people. And I managed to connect with them, and they said that they will be here for the ceremony. That's all they said. They didn't say whether they were going to do anything or give us anything, but they said that they were going to be there. So also there was this dawning understanding that Lord Maitreya is facilitating all of this. He is the man in the center here for us, and and as I started to understand that, a lot of gratitude towards him came over me. But anyway, we came back and started to channel Dr. Usui, Lord Maitreya. I think we even eventually did a few other people. There was Sanatumara, there was Babaji, there were the 5 blue people.
There was
Yogananda. And what happened there was we were sitting, and when we channeled Dr. Usui, he came, and then we suddenly started to feel... were we sitting with our palms open like that, or
you were sitting in your pose? No, we were sitting with palms open.
We were, yeah.
I don't know why.
And I don't know why either. But anyway, we started to feel this writing on the hand, and we knew that was a Reiki 3 symbol. Yeah. But we didn't know what it looked like. We didn't know what we were supposed to, how we were supposed to activate it. Nothing. And then he drew it, and then it felt like he was drawing it again and again and again, and you could feel the wind move.
That's what. It was just.
That was really crazy, and it was almost like also it was being burnt in. Yeah. And then suddenly I felt.
So this was in the morning.
This was in the morning. Yeah. I felt the calling to take both your hand and my hand, and to guide you as I was being guided to first touch it on our third eye, our hands, then our crown, and then our heart for the integration. And you did that and I did that and we integrated it. And then the 5 blue people were around, they were watching from a distance. And then I believe we got a blessing.
Yeah, we did get a blessing. Yeah.
I don't know how, we'll talk about your blessing. Who gave you your blessing?
I don't remember.
Did you feel anyone touch you, or did you have a conversation?
Yeah, no, I felt like we got a blessing. We definitely got a blessing.
Yeah.
We definitely got a blessing like on the head or on the head, yeah?
Yeah.
I definitely got a blessing on the head. I'm just trying to remember because it was overwhelming. So we felt the symbol, we got a blessing on our head and like someone right in front, touching shoulders or touching arms. I just can't remember.
Yeah, something
touching
like
hands
that,
to chest, maybe. Oh, gosh, I wish we just documented all of this as it happened.
Yeah.
But definitely received a blessing as part of that.
Yeah, and this was a really extraordinary one for me because not only had we received the Reiki 3, but for me particularly is I was obviously trying to deepen my strengthen my connection with Sanat Kumar as well. And when he came in, I felt his hand on my chest, and I have never felt anything like that before. That localized, sort of, literally a hand imprint on your chest, and the energy that it shook me with afterwards. It was.
You were. Yeah.
I was a bit
all over the place.
All over the place, but it was really, really healing as well, and it was like, that this is now the next thing that I can touch them, I can feel them. Yeah. And we came out and we were like, okay, we need to test this. We need to test this.
we need to test it. Test it now. Do this, do that.
Yeah, so
we're so bossy.
Yeah, we took out the Reiki symbols. We googled them. So if we were to do the symbol and we start to feel the energy in our body, that means it's working. Yeah. Right? And so we figured out that there were 2 different master symbols. Yeah. One was the Usui system, and then one was the other system, and we went with we didn't know initially. We were just trying to do one versus the other, and then you pointed that we have to do the Usui one, and we started to do the Usui one, and as we did that for the first time, I remember Daiko Myo, and we drew the symbol, and then suddenly the energy started to flow, and we were like, whoa.
Whoa, yeah, it was full on.
Yeah. And then what we normally do is when we send energy to someone, which is how Joanne taught us.
Our 3 symbols and our
Yeah, and then we say I send healing with divine order to such and such person. Yeah. And as I remember, as I was obviously testing it on you, and I could feel this the Reiki energy flowing from the universe through my body. And as I said to you now, I send healing with divine order to Nicole. I just felt that energy just leave me. Yeah. And just it was going to you. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, let me try and chakra it. So because if it's that Reiki energy, if I chakra it would intensify. Yeah. And I tried to chakra once, twice, and it amplified. Yeah, it amplified, and I could feel that amplify in what my connection with you there as well. And that was extraordinary. And then you tried it, and how was your experience?
Yeah, it was amazing. So then I tried the Daikomi symbol, and then just tried to get in flow with the energy. And then what I kind of tried to do is I tested it in a bit of a different way. So I tested it between my hands just to see if I could feel the energy. So it might sound weird, but I place my 2 palms together and then I move in and out, and I can just feel the energy in between my hands, how intense it is, how dense it is, and interact with that energy that's coming through me. So I did that. I did a body scan of myself just to see if, using the Reiki energy, if I could tap in and identify any areas, any blockages, see what I could feel. So I did that, which was really awesome. And then I sent energy to you.
You did? Yeah. Yeah, and I felt it almost immediately.
So I just tried a few different things to see, okay, like, is this working?
Yeah, no, and it was. It definitely was, yeah. And I felt that incredible, far greater Reiki energy than I have ever experienced before. You know, like like even as you started, it felt like it had already 100 chakra rays in it.
Yeah,
know? But something that happened even during the workshop was that these energies were just coming in, spirits were just coming in, and I remember this really intense spirit or energy come in, and I had never felt that before, and it felt like a very Jesus-like energy. It was the first time I thought maybe it was Sananda.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, is it Jesus? And then I tried to project myself out to confirm who it was, and it felt like Mother Mary. I got the answer that it was Mother Mary. And how beautiful was her energy.
So beautiful. Oh my God, I've never felt anything so beautiful in my life.
And she was so kind. She touched us so many places, didn't she?
Yeah.
She knew where we needed to be healed, and and her touch was so profound.
It was,
so profound.
Super beautiful.
Wow. I felt that there was someone persistently coming, and then I had this knowing that it was Lahiri Mahashaya, and he came, and I feel that he gave me an attunement in my third eye, and that was like another extraordinary experience for me as well, because I've never felt that energies like in order like that as well. So I got Yogananda and his energy, his calming presence and strong energy, and then you were obviously having your own interaction with him, and you talk about that in a minute and the attunement that you got there, but and then I was like, okay, Lahiri Mahashaya. I started to channel Lahiri Mahashaya. This is Lahiri Mahashaya, and suddenly the energy amplified. Ooh. And you could feel that really, like it went from like the sort of grounding energy to like a really high frequency energy, like super vibrational. And then I was like, okay, now, and this is Babaji's energy. And I called him in, and then it felt like the same energy as Lahiri Mahashaya, but just way more amplified. Yeah. Like very similar in structure, but obviously you were out in your land because you were getting your own attunement whilst that was happening. So talk about that. Talk about what happened there.
So I was interacting with Yogananda. It was just really amazing because I've been reading the book on his life, and it's been really calling to me. And so actually I'll just quickly interject. So I was starting to read his book, because that also happened that same day that I was reading as Lord Maitreya and Hatton came to me. So I've been reading his book, and then early on in the book it talks about how he started to have his visions, and then he closed his eyes and he said, what lies behind the darkness of closed eyes? And I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I just shut my eyes and I did it. I thought, what lies behind the darkness in closed eyes? And as I pondered that and went out to the void, I again got the image of the lotus. Wow. Yeah. I was able to do that and have visions and receive, visions of, I guess what lies beneath the image of the lotus came back to me, which was really strong, which was the same sort of lotus that I had seen the night, one or two nights before. So really amazing. So then I was trying to converse with Yogananda that night. But I'm sure there was a lot that was happening because I was relating to you. You got an attunement, Yeah, I felt like I got an attunement, or I got a blessing, I got something, So like a welcoming or a blessing or an acknowledgement, there was something that happened. Yeah.
You said you were talking about you got something on your third eye.
So something was drawn on my forehead. Yeah. And like so I felt like it was actually a blessing or like you're on the right path, or because I had been feeling ever since I started reading the book, which is quite amazing, like this really strong connection and yearningness to know. And then when I got the blessing, it was like, it's okay, I'm here and I'm with you and I see that. So I felt like it was, bit of an acknowledgement.
Wow. Yeah. And of course, coming back to the last day, which was yesterday, and then suddenly it dawned on me that there's more than one symbol with the Reiki Master thing. There's also the grounding symbol, because I'd heard of this before. Obviously, this came to us, so we weren't really sure what to expect. And And yeah, I remember like holding your hand and trying to make you feel the energy that you were feeling and the energy that I was feeling, and we were trying to do that and see what energy that we were feeling, you know, by basically holding hands to see, you know, what was passing through. And you know, I was like, hey, let's try the Raku symbol. And I dicomioed you.
Yeah.
And then I tried to Raku, and
instantly,
talk about what happened.
Yeah. So instantly, the energy that I had, which was a bit overwhelming, and so like, you know, like I said before, it's like you having a bit of anxiety, and you know, we've had 50 coffees. It just dissipated like that.
Yeah.
Gone.
I know. I felt
It's very calming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were practicing it on me, and this is like the strangest thing, right? Like, you said you started to do.
I just went straight into Raku.
And
without
it felt like
yeah,
it felt like the energy would go down to my feet, stay there for 3 seconds, and then come back up.
Yeah. So once I dicomioed you, and then you could feel the energy. Then I Raku'd you, and then it completely went all the way down to your feet, and it stayed there.
Yeah, it stayed there. It didn't come back up. Yeah. And which is an extraordinary thing to feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So last night we weren't sure what to do with, I guess, our Reiki 3 attunement that we'd received. And so we decided to, I guess, have a bit of a ceremonial calling in of whoever we could to kind of give us guidance or support us, or to have this experience. I guess we were looking for some sort of guidance and some sort of input there. So we called in a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot. So we called in the regulars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We called in Michael, Maitreya, everyone.
Well, you called, you were channeling first already.
Yeah.
So talk about what you
so
were
straight away,
yeah.
I just tried to raise my vibration as much as I could. And straight away I felt Maitreya, I felt Michael, I called in Yogananda, I called in Lady Portia. I'm not sure who else I called in that came straight away. And then you were working on calling in. Yeah, because we were facing each other, and then we were trying to, like, you know, channel them facing each other, so they had to move to the side of you. So we sat side by side, and then did it, and then that opened things up for you to be able to integrate a bit more.
Yeah. And then I started to, I don't even know who I called really. There was so
many. You
many.
called all your regulars as well, because what I felt like people coming in and out into our energy field and out of the energy field.
But here's what my understanding was, that they had to all be collected there. Yeah, I think I called in a few people, but more importantly, I called in the blue people again.
You did.
And the blue people came, and one of our hand was open in case anyone wanted to touch us or attune us. And this is what I distinctly felt. Amongst the other things, what I really, really distinctly felt was 5 blue people come in one by one, and draw something on our hands, maybe touch us at different parts of our body. And when I say us, I know that this is happening to you as well. Yeah. You're probably just asleep when this is happening. And then they'd move away. Yeah. And then another one would come in and then do the same, something similar. And this happened like 4 or 5 times. And you obviously had that experience as well.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Talk about that.
I was kind of drifting in and out, and then what happened, I got a massive, like, I was telling Prash, like, I felt like a thud to the side, like someone pushed me. And then I kind of went back and was a bit sleepy again, and then someone pushed me from behind, gave me a massive whack, and I jolted forward. And then you said to me, the blue people here, this is important, put your hands out. They're attuning us. So I put my hands out. I just took a few deep breaths and I centered myself again, and I felt writing on both my hands at the same time. And I felt it as clear as I would as someone, another human being, with their fingers drawing a shape or a symbol on the palm of my hand.
Wow. And
so, like, I had the experience it twice in both hands, and it was almost like a bit of a burning sensation, so you can feel the outline of where they've traced. It lingers with you within your hand after it's completed. So I felt that. And then the first round, so the 2 I received done, and then I felt probably 5 minutes later another 2 move forward, and I received another 2 on my hand. So I received another 2 symbols on my hand at exactly the same time. And like literally I could feel like the movement, or I felt like a breeze of, I can't explain, like of the actual movement of the fingers. So it was very intense. It was very clear. It was unmistakable.
Yeah.
Which was just insane. I mean, I don't know what the symbols were. Yeah. I don't know what they were. I don't know what they mean. But the fact that we received that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a blessing from Larry Mahaja.
That was the night before. No, I honestly can't remember. I know that Lady Portia came.
Yeah, Lady Portia came.
And when Lady Portia was here, she was standing in between us. She was facing you, and I asked her, I communicated with her, and I could see her in her green cloak. It was almost like very Disney-ish dress that she was wearing. Like a Disney princess sort of, but it was green. And I saw her red hair, and I knew it was her, and I asked her if it was her. She turned around, and I had a small conversation with her, and then I asked her, if this is you that I'm really talking to, then touch my forehead. And I could feel her touch my forehead.
So then straight after we could both feel Lady Portia, and then as I put my hand up to connect with her, well, you put my hand up maybe to touch her, and then she took a hold of my hand and held it, and then moved it across my chest and placed it across my heart, like across my arm, across my heart space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's really profound. And then Archangel Michael, he came.
Yeah.
He came just the way that
messages,
he...
Yeah.
And... And I didn't know if I could communicate with him, so I asked Nicole to communicate for me. And I was like, why does he not talk to me? Why does he not communicate with me? And the most undeniable thing happened. I've never seen him actually stand bang in front of me, but he came. He was standing in front of you, and then he moved. Yeah. It's like he moved sideways. I touched him. I felt his entire energy, and I was like, huh? And I moved my hand to the left. It's like, feel what that feels like. Move to the right, feel what that feels like. And I feel the center again. And yeah, this is undeniable. And also then in the end, we tried to channel Lord Jesus. And talk about how that experience was for you.
I felt it to be very light and love-filled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was...
graceful.
It was calming. It was just... like a spirit, your sense of spirit, like light and floaty and surrounding, and light. It was like light itself is the best way to explain that. I've got like little goosebumps as I'm talking now, but yeah.
That's beautiful.
It was really amazing, and really just like, wow. And just something to your nervous system, it does something to your heart, it does something to,
And as I know that when I projected myself to the back of the room, and I looked around, and when I saw him, his back was turned to me because he was facing the both of us in our physical bodies. And I asked him, I called out to him, and he turned over from his left side, like just slightly, just turned his head, and I saw the glimpse of his face, and just time just froze for me there, and I just, there was so much grace and beauty in his entire being, and his face didn't look like what I expected it to look like, and I just felt this need to, or this desire to just go down on my knees and pray to him, and it was very beautiful. And I think by then it was 2 o'clock.
2:30 in the morning, yeah.
And we decided to
finish it.
Well,
I couldn't have stayed awake any longer.
Yeah, but that has been the 5 days in paradise that we've experienced.
Yeah.
And it's it's good that we've documented this now, because now we have these 5 days forever.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thanks for that, Nicole.
Thanks, Prash.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
And have a great day. Catch you later on the next episode. Until then, goodbye.